you must be very surprised to see me instead of a beautiful lady. So instead of having a beautiful lady today, you have me, okay? And I just had my hair cut just for this. My name is Jonathan. I'm your host for tonight. And welcome to Wednesday 815 Heart to Heart. We are together with a small team of supporting us with technical and coordination to make this happen. We are trying to create a community to share and have that opportunity for us to encourage one another and to go through this journey together in this session. So one of the key things that we are doing here today is to really have that opportunity for us to communicate and go through this journey of this pandemic, of this COVID, and all this situation that we are in, because I think we are in a perfect storm in this nation today, and really having this opportunity to really hear stories from people and have handles to help us go through the journeys of our life in this season. Now, this event is organized by Eirini Counseling, powered by ENCM. For the benefit of those who may be your first time joining, Eirini Counseling is a non-profit counseling and mental health service for the community, regardless of religion, ethnicity, social, and economic status. We provide professional counseling and therapy for individuals, couples, and families. So today, we have with us, I'm very glad to have with us my friend, a great leader, a great husband, a great father, and a great business person as well. His name is Jeff Ong. And the conversation that I'm going to have today is the true and hard facts about pivoting in the midst of a crisis, especially when we are going through a financial crisis, right? Jeff is actually the CIO, which is the Chief Innovation Officer. I think I'm correct, Chief Innovation Officer, and the founder of FlexiRoam, a listed company in the Australian Stock Exchange, right? And Jeff Jeff and his company went through a tremendous challenge in the light of COVID, as their core business at that point in time was very linked into the tourism industry. And today we're going to hear from him firsthand how he and his team, and he's joined by his beautiful wife, JC, as well, and how he and his team navigate through this journey and this financial situation, this financial crisis for the past 18 months, right? So I'm so excited to have Jeff. Jeff, thank you for joining us tonight. So Jeff, the floor is yours. Take us away.
Hi, thanks everyone for giving me this opportunity to share my story. So I'll share my screen, which has the deck, so it's easier for me to kind of flow through it. Together with me is my wife, so I want to acknowledge her first. Her name is JC, and we are a parent of 4 children, all right, 2 boys and 2 girls. JC is a homemaker, right, and most of the time she is the CEO at home, right, and I'm the CEO at work. Another name of CEO is CSO lah. We call it Chief Suffering Officer. So when you are leading, you have to suffer, right? You know, so she suffer more than me because you have to hang out with 4 monsters at home, right? You know, for me it's just easy like compared to what she have to go through, right? I want to take this opportunity to introduce a little bit about my company, right? FlexiRoam. FlexiRoam. I started it in 2011, and then. Within 4 years of startup, I took it to list in Australian Stock Exchange in 2015. And then we built this product called the FlexiRoam X that focuses in selling data connectivity to travelers around the world, right? Within a short span of 4 years, we grew our business from strength to strength, from Malaysia to literally we have customers all around the world, about 500,000 customers. And it's a very cool product. You basically download, if you are an iPhone user, you just download the app. You can activate data without having to change any SIM card. You can just immediately get 4G or 5G connectivity anywhere around the world. So we are one of the 9 global carrier partner with Apple that is able to do that. And our business is 100% relying on travel, right? As you know, with COVID, we are severely impacted. I would say it's probably one of the sector that will be the most unimaginable, right? Because our business is not just domestic travel, it's only international travel. Like there will make no sense for you to use FlexiRoam even if you are in Malaysia. It only makes sense for you if you are traveling out of Malaysia. And I'm pretty sure all of you have not traveled out of Malaysia for the past 2 years, right? So, so that's the situation that we are in. And the way the company was built was very interesting. How it went global was, it actually started with a very small company back in 2011 in Damansara Perdana, and there's only 6 of us, and we never had enough money to hire people. Like we were just operating in Malaysia, and always not enough to hire talent. Don't have money for programmer, don't have money for anything, right? And then one day I met up with one guy from Ghana, right? And he got cheated, when he was studying in Malaysia, right? All his fees, school fees paid, right? And then he came to Malaysia, and then the uni said, no, we didn't receive any of your fees, and you cannot start your class until you have money to pay. And being a African kind of came from African continent, it's hard to get a job. Restaurants wouldn't hire an African. A lot of jobs wouldn't hire, and he had financial difficulty. And so, I couldn't afford to hire good talent. And then you have an MBA, kind of a postgraduate student that couldn't get a job. So a crisis married us together, So he became my first foreign employee, right? Someone from Africa, from Ghana, right? And then, with someone working from Ghana, and then he brought another friend that also had a similar situation from Nigeria, and then Nigeria brought another friend from India, and then brought another friend from Pakistan, and then slowly our company became kind of like a refugee camp, I would say. A lot of underprivileged or a lot of victims of scams, came and worked in the organization. And then the company began to have a very diversified global base of talent. And we begin to think, can we do something bigger than just serving customers in Malaysia? And then that's how the story go on. We eventually built in 2000, at the height, we had 70 people in the company. In the course of 4 years, Flexion was employed 32 people, 32 different nations, right? People from 32 different countries, from Israel, from Palestine, from Syria, from you name it, Brunei, China, Europeans, African continents, Latin American, we had. And then we made our product multilingual, multi-market, and we grew from strength to strength, right? And since we listed, we started to grow very exponentially. And in the last, at the height of it was the last 6 months in 2019, right? That's when our business started to be profitable, right? And at the height, we were doing $500,000 a month, right? Which means on a monthly basis, our sales would be like $500,000 USD, and it was run by a lot of, the company wasn't really built with a lot of high skilled worker. A lot of them are first time job. Average age of employee was 23, I think, and it was just an amazing time, and we were thinking that, wow, finally for the past 4 years of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, the company has now, turned into profitable. And then next year, 2020, we are going to, if we continue to grow that kind of top line, double every year, that's it, we all will be kaya raya already, and can really shake our leg already, because it's a business where we have global market, like literally customers from anywhere around the world. The risk of the chances, the only probability for us to fail is that nobody travel anymore around the world, right? And that is like quite impossible, right? And then of course came 2020, and we all know the story, first month, we were thinking that maybe it's just Wuhan, at that point of time, they call it the Wuhan virus. It's only China, right? And we were still celebrating Chinese New Year, China got virus, maybe China lockdown. We have some sales dip, but it's the beginning of the year, people don't travel. It's normal, it's a trend. And then, it's only China. And then came around March, April, it was real, right? It's a global pandemic and it's a global lockdown. All planes were hot, right? No planes are flying on the sky, and And then we had a 95% drop of top line, right? I mean, if you run a business, you have this sudden drop of top line, not once, not 1 month, but consistently for a few months, you'll be very, very panicked. And I think some of you would experience it, during the lockdown this year. But I had it was sometime last year, March, when there was really literally no signs or no signal. There was no chance for us to prepare for that, right? And when that happened around April, my company only had 6 weeks of runway. Like I look at it, it's like, okay, if we don't do anything, there's only 6 more weeks, and then we will not have money to pay anyone, right? And at that point of time, the team was really working hard. They tried everything they can. They tried to sell everything else. Why don't we sell sanitizer? Why don't we sell test kit? Why don't we sell? And then, government was offering us some assistance, saying that, look, if you retain your employee for 6 months, we will subsidize some of their income. But at that point of time, it was really a lot of people had a lot of opinion, and a lot of my leadership team, everyone had some ideas, everyone was coming together. But I had to make that very decisive decision as a CEO at that point of time, is actually to say that, no, guys, I think we have no idea what is going to happen 6 months from now, right? And all of you are really talented and gifted in many areas, and that crisis moment was the one time where the value of the company was like shining, right? And anticipating change, doing everything we can. But the hardest one was actually loving people, right? Because how can you love people when you have no money to pay someone's salary? How can you love someone, right, when your company has come to at the brink of collapsing, right? And there was no hope, there was no sign that travel is going to recover in the next 6 weeks, right? And how do we do that? And I was looking back at the value of the company, and I realized that, loving people may not be just from the money perspective, but it can be really helping them, like as an individual, like really truly love them. And I made a decision to tell the team in one town hall, and I told them that the truth. I told them exactly, I communicate exactly the truth to them, and I told them that, look, we only had 6 week runway, and I don't want any of you to try to think of any other thing. I don't want you to try to stay on or hang on. I said, let's spend the next 6 weeks finding job for one another, right? Let's help one another. Let's stop whatever that we do in Flexi Room. No one is going to travel anyway, right? So let's not try to do any more thing, right? Let's not try to shovel our product to our customers' throat when we know that they don't need it, right? Instead, let's look at each other's gifting, right? That what gift and talent that God has given each one of you, and help each other to find job. So within the 6 week, almost all, I would say, apart from 2 or 3 of them, almost all of them gotten a job, right? And they actually, some work in e-commerce because e-commerce was booming. Some of them work e-commerce companies. Some of them went to the fintech company. Some went to call centers. So everybody has gotten a job, and about 30% of them actually got an increment. Right? It's amazing. Like 30% of them got an increment, and I cannot imagine me giving them an increment at this kind of time. But 30 of them actually got an increment from their previous salary, right? And I can only say, like, God is amazing in this process, right? And that night when I announced to them, my wife was with me. I was going through a tremendous stress before the announcement, right? And after the announcement, I was even more stressed, right? My wife was asking me, like, are you going to bed? Like, you look very, very tired. I said, no, I'm not going to bed, because in case any of them were to call me, right? And they want to rant, or they have problems or anything, I want to be there for them. I want to be there to answer their call, And my wife and me were thinking for the expatriates, because about 30% of our staff employees are expatriate. And when expatriate don't have income, and a lot of them actually didn't come from a rich family. They came here because of the circumstances that they face in life. We were worried that they would not be able to make their ends meet. Like they won't have money to pay their rent. They won't have money for food, right? And so me and my wife was thinking, maybe we should start planning our room, and provide some place for them to stay. If they couldn't get a job, right, at least they can have a place to stay, and we will cook and we will share our meals with them, right? We were calling our neighbor next door, which is vacant, and asking whether the house for rent. We want to rent the house so that make space available for some of our employees, because we know that it will be tough. But to my surprise, that night, my phone was filled with messages, like tons of messages, was giving love to me, right? They were telling me that, boss, you've taken care of us over the years. You have done so good in our lives. You made amazing things. Like, we love you, we love the company so much. So don't be burdened by this. We will work it through. A lot of them actually send positive message. Some of them send me call. And of course, like I said, I for the first time in my entrepreneurial journey, I actually got loved by my employee. I don't know how many bosses here actually get loved by their employee, but I am one. I'm very privileged and very blessed to be loved by my employees, right? And a lot of them showed love to me, and they told me that, don't give up. If one day, this storm is over, we'll come back. We will come back to the company and we will rebuild it again. So a lot of them give a lot of positive message for me that night, and that was like truly blessed. And me and my wife was like just crying, and we were hugging, and we were experiencing such joy, for the first time in the journey in the business. And for the next 6 weeks, all of them, like I said, almost all of them got a job, and subsequent weeks, all of them got a job, right? So today, all of them actually placed somewhere, they're working somewhere, 30% of them got an increment. Really happy for them. We still keep in touch in that process. And I just want to say that, when the company was downsized from 60 people, 60 plus intern, about 70, down to 10 people. So one person, we actually decided to downsize from 60, 70 to 10. And this 10 person we call the skeleton team, right? Because why? Because we lost all the flesh, only left with the skeleton, So, and we said, our main job, right, in this as a skeleton team is actually to keep the base, right? To make sure that there is a base for them to return someday, right? And we a few conditions I actually told them. I said, number one is that, for the next 6 months, you cannot find another job because you are the skeleton really. You have to sign that I will stay in the company for the next 6 months, right? Then you get to be in the skeleton team, right? So they have to sign that, and then after that, you need to take a pay cut, right? 30 to 50% pay cut, right? For the next 6 months. Wow, very depressing, right? I mean, you have to stay in the job, take a pay cut, and the number 3 thing is you have to do 5% job. Wow, it's overwork five times, half pay, and then 6 months cannot look for a job, right? But I told them, I said, whatever that you sacrifice, I will pay you back in shares, twice the amount, right? And then the skeleton team kept together, keep the ship afloat. So our runway was extended from 6 weeks to 3 months, right? Not long, 3 months, but at least there is 3 months of stability for us to think what we need to do. This was the moment where we stopped operating from fear, desperation, and anxiety, and we begin to operate in peace, in a sound mind, right? And in that 3 months, we learned how to extend the runway from 3 months to 6 months, right? By doing a lot of aggressive cost cutting, negotiating a lot of communication, right? So we communicate with the stakeholders, with our shareholders, telling them that we did everything we can. We have expanded the runway to 3 months. We need more help. We need more funding so that we can extend the runway from 3 months to 6 months or even more, right? We started talking to all our suppliers. We didn't hide behind. We tell them that this is the actual fact that what's going on. We communicate to them that, we had this crisis. unprecedented, but we are taking every steps that we can. So we come up with a payment plan for them for 2 years, for 5 years, up to 5 years, right, to ease our cash flow, right? And then we also reduce costs in many things. You know, one of the things that we reduce actually is our office, right, which we stayed there for I think more than 10 years now. I've been working in Damansara Perdana. Like, I love the chicken rice, I love the coffee, I love everything there. But to say goodbye to that was really painful, right? But we made all the hard choices, and we made all the communication that we can, right? And even going up to BFM, the age, and telling exactly what has happened, right? What we did as a company. And that has actually brought a lot of attention to us. So I was given opportunity to speak in many conferences, many places, just to tell people what's going on with the company. And in that very short period of time, you know, we get a lot of attention and a lot of momentum in what we are doing, right? A lot of opportunity and a lot of support. So this is a picture where this is a picture of us removing the clutter from the office, right? So imagine you are in the office for 10 years, right? This crisis has given us the opportunity to declutter, right? So the skeleton team, you know, we took picture and we continue to do, you know, what we need to do. It's very depressing, very demotivating when everyone left. You are here to clean the mess. You know, you have to clean your colleagues' desk. You know, because it's so sudden, right? they left. They were announced they're leaving, and then, you know, we have to go back, open up the office, and then we have to start, you know, cleaning all their files, cleaning all their rubbish, you know, and clipping, and then remove everything, you know. And there was a huge amount of decluttering exercise that we did, you know. But you know, we in that process we still find joy, and then one of the things that I realized that in the time where we were suffering was that we, instead of feeling depressed, we started to do community work, right? Depression is only happen when you start thinking about yourself. We stop thinking about yourself and you start thinking about other people, and realizing that actually there's a lot of other people that are much worse than us. So while decluttering, we realized that we have huge amount of SIM card stocks, which was supposed to be used for a Malaysia Airline project, and Malaysia Airlines is in trouble, so we don't have any potential partnership with them. And we realized that we can repurpose the stock for other for other things in the event travel do rebound. And so we took the opportunity to bring all our stocks to the B40 community, right? They couldn't come out because a lot of them during the lockdown, you know, especially the single moms, they got no transportation, they got no job, they got no money, they got no food, right? So what we do is we bring the job to them. We told them that, look, you know, you help us to unpack these stocks, repurpose them, you know, we'll pay you, right? And in that process, we actually blessed, I think, close to about 20 to 25 families, right, during the time. During the time, when the dust are settled, you know, when we have sufficient runway, we are able to operate with some level of stability, you know, and we begin to do a lot of soul searching, right? So that this COVID-19 has kind of given us an opportunity to rethink our business and ask ourselves, what are the core competency of the business that we can reuse, and how can we reposition and rebrand ourselves? And then that's the birth of the Super Connector. So FlexiRoom today is no longer just a connectivity for travelers, right? As we speak, right, it is connectivity for everything, people and machines, right? We power even a lot of these terminals, which you can see, orange colored terminals, you know, when you go to drive-thrus, you know, or anywhere take away, you know, you pay with your Grab wallet, you know, that terminal inside has a SIM card and it's powered by FlexiRoom, right? And apart from terminals like that, we also power smart cars, smart vehicles, smart home, and literally we expanded the market from just serving 6 billion human to 83 billion IoT devices, right, for the next 4 to 5 years. And the market is the market size has grown from just $8 billion to $1.6 trillion. And because of this repositioning and repurposing our organization, you know, the company share price went up, you know, by 10 times, right? during that period of time. So the skeleton team was kind of blessing in disguise because they took a pay cut and they get paid in shares twice the amount, and then the shares went up 10 times, right? So literally they got themselves 8 to 9 months bonus, right? But you know, sometimes as I reflect back, you know, suffering has a purpose. Challenging and adversity in life has a purpose and has a wider purpose, and we don't know until we give it enough time, right? So that we can see from a bigger picture. And of course, at that point of time, it was really tough, 6 weeks of runway. But we didn't know that crisis has led us to opportunity. That crisis has led us to a time for us to rethink, to reposition ourselves, right? And the biggest thing for me was actually allowing us to focus on some of the key winnings that would change our destiny, right? And that was the time where we because we have very little resources, and we say, look, we need to focus and channel our attention to get some really low hanging fruits. And we were very focused. And during that time, we closed 3 major deals, like one with GHL, one with MasterCard, and one with Apple. And that made a huge difference for the organization. And the final part is actually sometime early this year, you know, it allow myself as a leader of the organization to do soul searching as well, like identifying what is my strength and what can I do best and better for the organization. And it gave me an opportunity to meet Mark, and Mark at that point of time just exited from, helping iFlix to exit, sold the company from iFlix to Tencent. He was a CEO in iFlix, and then he was interested to invest in FlexiRoam, and then met up with him, and then instead of asking him to invest in FlexiRoam, I ended up asking him to be my board. And as he became a member of the board, he began to love the business. He realized that this company and the story and the things that we went through, we shouldn't have existed. We should have died. But instead, you know, we were able to rebound, right? And he began to fall in love with the company. And then I told him, I said, you know, Mark, you know, now that we are well funded, right? And the company is in a position to scale again. Is at the right size, small team to rebuild and to rebound, right? I don't think I'm the best person to do it again, you know, because I've done it. I realized that I made a lot of mistakes. I realized that I don't have the competency to do what it needs to do, right? Because the vision and the potential is so huge. I think it would be better if him doing it, because he has done it in iFlix. He has burned probably millions or even billions of dollars, right, to grow the business to 32 markets. He had 700 employees managed globally under him. He definitely has more experience than me. And there was a time where it allows me to think and step aside and change my role from a CEO role to a Chief Innovation Officer. And today, Mark and a new group of leadership team, the Chief Revenue Officer from Tata Communication, we have a CTO from Infobit, you know, and huge transformation in the organization taking place at the leadership level, right? And I just want to encourage all of you to know that whatever suffering that you're going through now, or challenges that you're going through now, it may not be as bad as it is if you give enough time to see it from a longer period, right? Because it may take you to something more exciting and much a bigger opportunity than where you were before. Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you, Jeff. This is you there, Jeff? Right. This is my second time hearing Jeff telling this story. But today I think he's saying the story, but in a very different narrative of more of the people part, and more of the I can sense a lot of the challenge is really real. How many of you are learning something from this session today? If you are learning something, if you are blessed by this session, please key in what ahas are you having from this session, or from the sharing that just Jeff had on the chat box. Please share on the chat box. What are the ahas that you've gotten? or if you are blessed, please just express your gratitude that you have been blessed and you have learned something from this session. Jeff, I really learned a lot in my second time hearing this, because I heard it the first time. But more of the things that I realized that you did in the very early stage is you embrace the truth. You embrace the truth of the realities of what's going on. Can you share with us a little bit of that journey of, because it takes a lot of courage to embrace truth in that season. It takes a lot of courage to really go and assess the situation and look at, if you are in war right now, you look at how much stock you have, how many ammunition you have. You have to go through that journey. Can you share with us what are some of the things that you did to help you look at the assessment and the truth of the reality that your company was going through from a financial standpoint?
There's a lot in that question, actually. Yeah, but I think in my case is that definitely I've gone through quite a number of rounds of suffering and many rounds of crisis, but each time it's a different level, right? Like different, it's harder and harder and harder, but I always view that, whatever that we go through now may not be as bad as it looks 10 years from now, right? Like it may be very, very severe now, but 10 years from now, when you look back, you will realize that actually, yeah, it is one of the chapter, but it has actually strengthened you, make you a better person, prepare you for something greater and harder, down the road, so many times running business that I know the fact that my runway is short, right? I've got used to it, it's no longer, it's like part and parcel of running business, right? There's no business that you run that there's no crisis. Even casino have crisis, right? No one can avoid and no one can escape from it, so
right.
Yeah.
Right, just embrace the truth and do assessment. Now, you did something called, you assess that you only have 6 weeks of runway, right? And the first thing you think about, what can you cut to stabilize the company, right? What can you cut? So did you go through a series of like a checklist and let's start cutting all the expenses and start replanning the whole financial expense of the outgoing of the company? Is that something that is that your number one priority? Was that your number one priority at that point in time?
I will say that this is very unique for different people, right? Different situation, different businesses. So I cannot say what I went through would be applicable to everyone. But at that point of time for me, right, like my business is 100% relying on travel, number one. And not just travel, but international outbound travel, right?
Right.
All my partners are airlines, hotels, and travel agencies, which they all no longer answer my phone call, right? and my businesses telco, right, requires me to buy in commitment. Like I need to buy in commitment, and there's a period for me to use. It's like your mobile prepaid. You buy 100 ringgit. If you don't call, right, by the end of the month, it's expired, right? But you still have to pay the 100 ringgit. So that kind of a situation that I face, I need to go through very critical thinking, asking whether will my business still be relevant to the world 3 months from now? Will my business still be relevant to the world 6 months from now? Will I be able to solve my customer's problem, right? And then from there, I realized that actually I don't know. The answer is I don't know, right? If I don't know, then it was very practical for me that I shouldn't assume that things will be fine. I have to come to a point where I need to plan for the worst case scenario and start to have a crisis management happening. And we had a lot of round of debate, a lot of emotional was thrown into it, right? I wanted to share one chart actually.
Okay, go ahead.
Which I think I missed it. This is like the journey I went through, right? Kluber-Ross, right? Grief cycle. First when it happened, it's just Wuhan virus lah. It's just China ni lah. Be fine one lah. 2 months, 3 months from now, everything will be back to normal. Suffer a little bit, then be fine, right? And then after that, no lah. The lockdown is real lah. 95% sales drop for 2 months, for 3 months already, anxiety start to kick in, anger start to kick in. You start to think whether is there something that you can do? Can we sell something else? Can we survive? Can we do everything, right? Should we tell our supplier? Should we tell our investor? Should we just hang on and don't rock the boat, right? And then you go through the period where it's real already. You are at the mood where you're super duper low already. Like, okay, that this is the fact, this is the things that you need to do to survive, right? If you don't do anything, you put everything at risk, right? And you need to make some very practical decision. And I would say the first 2 and the 3 part is really about communication, going there, talking to people, getting information, informing other people, and uncovering the truth, right? And then during the time where the emotional support is where I think my board did a fantastic job in going through that with me, David and Tasing, and they were really strong and good board members, right? Helping me to discern, to overcome the storm, right? And my wife is huge amount of emotional support, right? All of you can ask her questions down the road later on, but I tell you, she was there for me, right, at my lowest moment. And then, you go through a season where it's depression, where you start to think whether, hey, how long will this go on? Does it make sense? And even though we were running at a skeleton team, like just 10 of us, we were doing like 50 people's job, right? And having pay cut and just struggling, right? Wow, pay cut by half, work 5 times harder, and we need to declutter, clean the mess, close the office, remove things, right? Very depressing. But that is also the time where we stop thinking about ourselves and say we should be thankful that you have 50%. You have half pay cut, you still have pay, right? Because there are people who don't even have money at all for meals, right? And we start going out there serving, we realize actually, hey, we are not that bad, we are still thankful. We can still come back. There's still hope. There's still way for us to reposition ourselves, right? And then when it comes to a point where we have that solid and the peace, solid foundation and the peace in us, and we are ready to do soul searching, right? And that's where we start to explore options and new plan in place. And then that's where we start doing our pivoting, right? And that's kind of like a cycle that we went through.
Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to ask you, or maybe if your wife can chip in this question.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot of stress compressed in a very short time, very high intense emotions, a lot of uncertainty and all that. How has that affected you in your family in that journey, with you and yourself, and maybe your wife can chip in? How has that affected you guys as a family unit? How has that affected you all?
You want to share?
I think at that point of time, we really have to support each other, because it's a pandemic. It's beyond what we know, beyond our knowledge and beyond what we can expect. So yeah, it's really live day by day. The emotion is really, we just try to, we know things are bad, but just try to have something good out of it, and also really live day by day. We really don't know what's happening tomorrow, since it's so uncertain, and really had not seen this kind of situation before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember there was a time where I actually apologized to her. I said, I was so focused on the business that I really neglected her, and I think for my wife, and I think many wives would actually want to have that sense of security, right? And sometimes it may not be just money, but actually telling them actually what's going on, right? And there was a time, I think it was kind of enrich our marriage during this crisis as well. We learned to share with one another what's the actual situation, what's going on, pouring my heart to her. And she is also a very good listener and helping me to discern in situations, maybe because I spend less time in office now, in fact, no time in office. So she's my only person that I can talk to, right? So really, it's having a board meeting every day, literally.
I wonder who's the chairman in this board. Right. JC, can you share with us some handles? Because I think there's probably some wives here in this chat, in this audience here today. What are some of the things that you did to help support Jeff as he goes through this journey during that season?
I think try to minimize more stress and burden on him because like as a small thing can trigger him. He's so stressful already. Like maybe the kids cry middle of the night also, he will bao zha, like so we try to keep the house like okay, peaceful and calm, get everything done, and yeah, to minimize any more friction in at home.
Yeah.
Right. So try to take charge of the home, make sure the environment there's lesser stress in the home environment as he's going through this stress. So there's some of the things that you took the initiative to do that, right? So Jeff, for you, in terms of this journey, right, from a family point of view, from a personal point of view, or from a business point of view, what are some of the lessons that you have learned?
I learned one thing for sure is that, and this is not just this time, but many times, is that our identity, our security, and our significance is not found in our job. It's not found in the title. It's not found in your salary slip, right? Your identity, your security, and your significance is found in who you are, created and designed by the creator or the God by themselves, right? No one can change that from you, right? No one can change who you are. You are tremendously valuable. You have a tremendous talent, capability that is uniquely designed for you, right? And it doesn't represent who you are just because of carrying a title on your name card, right? And for me, I've learned to the point where now I step aside as a CEO, right, and giving the company to a new leadership team, allowing a new driver to drive the company, because I know my talent is actually not just being a CEO. I can still be in a different role, and even if I leave the organization, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm at peace, right? And so that's something that I learned during this pandemic. So I think the country and the nation is going through that as well, right? We are suffering now as we speak. We don't even know who is our prime minister, right? But it's okay. It's okay, because I believe this suffering will lead to a better Malaysia, in many years to come. Like the temporal suffering that we are going through now may not make sense, and it seems like there's no end to it. But I know the fact that it's a process leading to something much better for us down the road. So it doesn't mean that today this person is a prime minister, right? The country is going to be corrupt forever, going to be corrupt or whatever forever. Right? It may be part and parcel leading to something much greater, in the longer term. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. So it's about making peace with the reality of your identity, and it's not about the work that you do. It's not about the title. It's not about what you have not. It's really the being of yourself, being very clear. What are the giftings that you have? What is the opportunities that you have, that you are being created for a greater purpose? And it's just not. And if you are not doing well in this role or in this job or in this business that you are in, even though it's not your fault, that doesn't define who you are. It doesn't define.
For being a founder of a company, right? A lot of time, right? The company become my God. It's like after a while, he become my God already. He's like the idol, like you actually go there every day. You Chong Hyong, every day. He's like my God. My company is my God already. You take away the God, right? It's like taking away your ancestor, the Ang, and take away from you, That's the feeling, And I'm telling you that our God shouldn't be our career, or shouldn't be our job, or shouldn't be our company or business, right? But we will not realize it until it's being taken away, because that's where you really realize. And that was what I realized, like, wow, when if I lose my company, if I lose my people who used to work with me, if I lose my title, wow, it's really painful, man. And why is it so painful? Why? Because this thing is becoming my God, And the fact of the matter is, it is not, right? even without these things, right? I still have my wife, I still have my kids, you know, I can still look for a new job, I can still find something to do. The talent and the gifting that uniquely imprinted in me will not be taken away, right? I'm still the Jeff Ong, right? And no one can take this away from me, right? You know, and that is something that I discover, and it's really powerful. And I only discover it through crisis, because without this, I wouldn't be able to discover it in a sense. Yeah.
Right. So as you go through this crisis, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I want to kind of talk back about, many companies or many people who are in your position or in the company's position will choose to give up and say it's no hope anymore. I don't want to reinvent anything. I don't do anything anymore. No, I think my business is gone. There's no traveling going on. Let's just wrap it up and call it a day. Was there any moment in your time that you had that thought, and how did you overcome that thought?
I mean, my wife will know lah. You know, so there's so many times I ask her this question, right? Like suddenly, at a traffic light, I will ask this question. Suddenly, before I go into the washroom, I will ask this question. Suddenly, I come out from the kitchen, I will ask this question. Very sporadic times where I will ask this question, right? And I don't have an answer to it, but I would think that giving up is very, very different interpretation. Like some people think that giving up means it's like you close the business is give up. I don't see closing the business is giving up, because before I start FlexiRoam, I had 2 or 3 other ventures that I failed. If I don't close those businesses, I wouldn't have started FlexiRoam, right? Now, if I don't do FlexiRoam, will I be going to other things? I don't know, right? But I never give up on myself. I never give up on what God has given me, my talent, my gifting, and I know definitely not the relationships that God has given me, like my wife, my children, my friends. And those things cannot be taken away anyway, right? But a lot of times, we are gripped. I mean, by at least for me, I am gripped towards things that are not that important, but it became important in my life. It's like a wrong priority. So things that are actually not that important, but it became so important that if I lose it, it seems like it's the end of my life, right? But actually, it's not. Think about it. Like it's actually not. Like if you take a step behind, take a deep breath, which I always try to ask my wife, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, and then we always talk about what's the worst thing that can happen. Like, worst thing that can happen is you become a Grab driver, lor. No, that's still not the worst thing, right? What's the worst thing can happen? Like, I cannot even get a job as a Grab driver. It's still not the worst thing. If I cannot get a job, it's still not the worst thing. I can still do something else. I can apply a job in Keller Williams, right? So actually, when you ask this question and you have this conversation with your wife, and then you realize actually, actually not that bad. Nothing can take away the joy and happiness that we inherit. And we are very blessed. The fact that we can connect on this Zoom meeting. We are way privileged than many other people out there in the world. Way, way more, right?
So having a lot of sense of gratitude and finding things to thank for, so finding something to be grateful about on a daily basis. And it sounds like you are always having this self-talk. You're always talking it out. You're always expressing it out. You're always reaching out. And your wife was a great support to you, and you were having that conversation. I want to ask JC, do you get like why keep on asking me this question? Do you get that kind of thoughts? Wow, it was that kind of how did you feel when he was going through that journey? Back and forth, keep on asking the same question. How were you able to support him in that way?
I will just answer over and over again. Maybe I deal with my children a lot. Children can ask the same question many times. So you just give the same answer again every time they ask. Yeah, you just repeat the answer.
One thing you said, John, like you talk about finding contentment, right? Like, both of us, we always ask this question, like what is our need? Like how much actually do we need, right? And then in asking those questions, we realize, hey, actually we find wealth in contentment. Like we realize actually we are so rich. Not to say it's like money rich, but we are so rich in many areas, way beyond than what we deserve, right? But a lot of things that we feel that we are poor, right, is because it's our want. Like I feel so poor not having the latest iPhone, you know. But I still have a 5-year-old phone that works perfectly fine, right? But I feel poor the moment I see my neighbor have a latest iPhone and I don't have it, right? But finding wealth in contentment is really a secret, you know. I think it's a secret to kind of have the joy and the blessing that God has designed for us to have, you know, in a sense. Yeah.
Right. And you speak a lot earlier about loving your people, and I'm sure you have a lot of encounters, a lot of conversation with your people. I don't know about you, but I find you probably have a lot of care for them. And in your process and your journey of caring for these people, especially some of them who are living, who are from abroad, they are alone, and they're going through some of this financial crisis alone by themselves, living alone. What are some of your advice for this kind of people, or this category of people that are in this journey right now, who is alone and going through this financial stress themselves? What are your advice for you to help them cope in this journey?
I mean, I think the opportunity now has kind of global, you know. Think about it, right? A lot of businesses now, they actually don't need you to go to office and work, right? I personally, for the past few months, has encountered many jobs. I mean, I've outsourced many things and I've spoke to consultants. I don't even know where they are from, actually, you know. I go to websites like Upwork, you know, Fiverr, you know, Telegram. There are all kind of people there who offer this different kind of work, right? And I think the world has really given us an opportunity. So now the opportunity for you to look for a job is not just Malaysia. It's actually everywhere around the world, you know, actually everywhere around the world, right? And the potential and opportunity has become global for all of us. And the fact of the matter is, I think most of us in Malaysia, or even those who are working here right now, you know, we are tech savvy. You can go online. You know, I remember my wife was asking me, remember the job that you were offered? I mean, at that point of time, you were going through some really bad financial crisis. And my wife was telling me that there is this translator job, is it? Yeah, like she was considering taking up this job, right? Because she can translate at the midnight after the kids are asleep, you know, and then she can translate between US and China, because she can speak Mandarin and she can speak English, right? And it was not too bad. I think it's like 5,000 ringgit a month. More than that, right? Like all you need to do is just being a Malaysian, 讲华语 and speak English, right? It's this like, come on, man, like just being a Malaysian, right? You get, you know, and you can do it like after your kids asleep, you know. I mean, this kind of job opportunity never came before, you know, like we never knew it even exists, right? But I think this pandemic has opened up a new opportunity for everyone, if you think about it from the bright side, right?
Right. Thank you. So it's all about, no, the Chinese word for crisis talks about where challenges meet opportunities, right? In the midst of this danger, danger, there is an opportunity, right? That's the word of the Chinese word for crisis. Sorry, I don't know Chinese, but I just remember that term, okay? I think it's Wei Ji, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the translator say correct, so correct, okay? So that's how we should think about crisis. Is there any other opportunity? Because there is certain opportunities that will arise in crisis, right? In anything that we do. I want to switch gears a bit and talk about your focus on people and your value. Value, how you live that value, because I sense that one of the key things that help that you hang on to very strongly in the tough time is what value you choose to live by in your business. And loving your people is part of that value, right? Tell us a little bit about why that is so important and why you guys decided that we want to live our value even during this tough time.
We crafted those values during good times, right? but it's only being tested during tough time. I tell you that, you know, if you look at your company's value, it's always pinned on the wall, looks very nice, very fancy. Good times, you know, people talk about values, right? Love people. How to love people? Oh, okay, you know, like have party lah, Christmas party lah, Chinese New Year party lah, you know, love people. When bad time happen, love people and see how you love people. you know. So values were crafted in good times, and it was really tested during the tough time, right? But it was also a time where you really like being tested. Can you still believe in those values? Can you still believe in love people? Can you still believe in and enduring difficulty? Can you believe in recognizing resilience, right? Can you do that during the tough time, right? And it's really hard for me and for my team, but as we reflect, I think those were the values that actually carry us forward lah.
Right. What helped you guys to maintain that value? What helped you guys to kind of be very focused and that we must have this value through to stay the course through in this value? What are some of the things that you all did to help you go through this, making sure that you guys stay in that value framework?
Value is not like a hard fast rule. In fact, it is that a guidance. It's actually there to teach you how to break the rules, right? It's because when you know the value of the company, you know how to break the rules, right? You know when to break the rules. It's not following. It's like the constitution, right? It's crafted out of the constitution. So the value is very important. And different circumstances, you go back to there and try to find answer to it, and that is something that I personally believe at my time I was being challenged by my employee many times based on the values, right? Because it is supposed to be higher and kind of like a bigger principle. I remember my HR will come to me and challenge me, if we said we love people, why are we doing this? So that becomes something to remind a leader, because when a leader leads, sometimes you go astray lah, because
Right.
your value just become dollars and cents. Yeah.
Right. And that's the different kind of value, right? It's not wrong. It's just a different value. It's a different choice. And it's kind of like having a philosophical guidance system to kind of help us navigate through the journey of the organization yourself. Thank you for sharing that. How many of you are learning something today? If you are learning something today, please say yes on the chat box. You guys are very quiet tonight, but what are some of the things that you're learning? If you have any questions, do put it in the chat box so that Jeff is here to answer your question. He's a very busy man, by the way, very busy. So please, we are ready to his time. And I don't know how many of you feel that this is really a tremendous sharing of very, very authentic, very, very genuine, very, very open conversation for all of us here today. So if you have any questions, please put it in the chat box so that we can help address these questions to you guys, right? So any questions, please put in the chat box. So moving forward, Jeff, just a few more questions. You spoke about this just now. Yeah, Mabel saying her company is going through a crisis too. I'm very worried. If someone is facing bankruptcy today, what advice can you personally give to them?
I'm not a financial advisor. I don't really know how it happened, but I can share a little bit about my dad. My dad went through a bankruptcy in the 1997, 1990s, I think. Yeah, it has, I don't know what has done to his career, but it has done a severe damage to the family, right? And for many years, he left the burden to my mom, right? And my mom had to take care of us and had to find ways to support us financially. Now, I think he went through a period where he was really low self-esteem, and I don't blame him, because I think there was no counseling services and that kind of thing. There was a severe period where he doesn't want to go out and see people. He doesn't want to go out and meet people. He doesn't talk to people. He doesn't want to look for a job. He just went disappeared. He has bought huge impact, on me and my siblings. And it took years for me to heal from it. In fact, one of the reasons that I started the company was actually like, I want to be financially freedom. I don't want to be like my dad, right? And that was like the wrong motivation for me to run business for many years, until of course I met my faith. I came to know the Lord, and I kind of like healed that part of me, and not to be driven by the wounds, right? But you know, it can have a severe impact on the people around you and your family and your children. And I think it's not worth it. My answer is not worth it, you know, because a business can be built again. Bankruptcy can be lifted, but your children, your relationships, and the damage that you cause to them lasts for a long time, and it lasts for a long time, and it has a severe impact. And I think if you put a dollar and cents to those damages, it's probably cost more than your bankruptcy, you know. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. That was a good advice. So try your best to make sure that manage your finances well and protect your family by trying not to get into that situation right now. So that's what we are saying right now.
And to just to add on to that, you know, my dad finally got his bankruptcy lifted, you know, after many years. So it's not the end. And my dad, you know, we came together as a family. My dad is really living his life now, enjoying his retirement, right? I always say he's one of the most blessed person because, you know, by the age of 40 plus, he was bankrupt and then he didn't work for 20 over years. And then he retired, his bankruptcy lifted, and now he's enjoying his life. Wow, it's like, man, you know, from a long-term perspective, it's actually quite a good life, actually. You know, the wife work, the wife do everything, you know, the kids work, the kids do everything, you know. So, you know, from a long-term perspective, it's not the end, right? A bankruptcy can be lifted, I said, you know. I think it takes time, but it's not the end, you know. It's not the end. Yeah.
Right. I want to add to that. So if you are going through those journeys, don't journey this alone. Find help, seek help, right? Eirini Counseling services available to help you, to journey with you, to make sure that you are able to go through this with someone. Don't suffer alone, because we are not going to go through this by ourselves. We have a lot of support here today, and people are around us to be here to support us. You spoke a little bit just now about suffering has a greater purpose.
Yeah,
that's a different perspective, right? Because it's very hard for us to say, hey, let's go and find our suffering and then find our greater purpose, right? It's not how we are wired naturally to have that thought, right? Can you share with us a little bit about how did you come to that perspective?
I mean, you look at Olympic, it's just over, right? Look at those gold medalists. It's very, very nice standing on a podium, taking gold, right? But you only want the part where they take the goal, right? You don't want to know before the goal what suffer they went through, right? You know, and that's actually how we live. Most of us live our life. We don't want to go through the suffering. We just want to take the gold medal, right? And if you don't get gold medal, we are suffering, you know. But it doesn't work that way, lah. You know, even when our parents, you know, my wife actually, you know, have 4 children, right? She went through 4 times of suffering, right? 9 months of carrying the baby, you know, and then, you know, give birth, and then now she's still suffering. Yeah. I tell her, you know, yeah, don't worry, you know, you suffer now. When they grow up, you know, it will be an abundance of joy, you know. It will be many years of suffering, but eventually, you know, hopefully this asset will start paying dividends, you know. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for saying that, because I think that's important to understand that life is there's a lifeline, it's a journey, it's a long journey, and today what we're experiencing is just one dot of that whole life. There's so much life ahead of us right now in everything that we can do, and we have not done yet that we can do, right? So depending on which season of life you're in, which part of that timeline you're in, this journey, this pain point, this suffering point is just that one dot. And it's another chapter, it's just one chapter or just one page of the book, because the book is somehow how you decide to write that book. And all of us have that capacity and the ability to write the way we want to write in our story. Right. So guys, if you have any questions, any thoughts, please put in the chat box. I hope you guys are enjoying the session today. I hope you're learning something from the session today. Right. There's another question here. Last question now. What Bible verses that you use to help you overcome your difficult time?
So many.
For the chat box. Sorry?
there's so many Bible verses that that kind of help me to overcome, you know. But I think one is actually Romans 18 verse 8. You know, it talks about Romans 18 verse 8. I think let me check the verses. Yeah. Yeah, Romans 18 verse 8 is that the pain that you are feeling can't compare to the joy that's coming. Wow, that's really good, you know. So the pain that you're feeling can't compare to the joy that's coming, right? That's Romans 8 verse 18. I think there are many versions of interpreting. There are many versions of books, but I like this verse, you know, that says that, you know, the present suffering is incomparable to the joy that is coming, you know. So so that I hope that as an encouragement to many of you, you know, when you it's like giving birth to a baby, you know, 9 months of suffering and then another 18 years of suffering. And then you ask, when is it going to end? Then all you know is second baby coming. Another third baby coming, and then another fourth baby coming. Then my wife said, you know, it's enough already, you know.
Thank you for sharing Romans 8:18. Thank you so much. Great. I'm going to have some announcements. Then, Jeff, I'll come back to you for some last thoughts for our audience here. For our audience here tonight, if you are listening to this, this is helpful. And if you're in any need or any you need to speak to someone and all that, please indicate that in the chat box. Or you can quickly click on Eirini Counseling Services, the chat, and someone will be attending to you. We're going to create a breakout room so that you can join that breakout room and talk to someone, because everyone will be able. There's no problem. There's no problem. There has no solution, right? And that's where we want to support everyone or anyone in this room that needs that need. There will be that, what do you call that, breakout room available. Just indicate that in the chat box and someone will put you in the breakout room to speak to you if you want to support you and help you in this journey. Can I have the announcements on the screen, please? Dive, can I have the announcement on the screen, please? Dive, are you there? Right, thank you. Right. Can I have presenter mode, please? Right. Right. So today we have this wonderful session here with Jeff Ong. Next week, we will have another session called My Child of Hope, how to rise above the jostling waves of raising children with special needs. I think one of the challenges that we have in during this pandemic is how can we be better parents, and what more if you have children with special needs. So Andrew and Tierney will be there to share their journey and their story about how they parent through a pair of twins with special needs. And that's going to happen on the 25th of August next week on Wednesday at 8:15 or Wednesday 8:15. So do sign up, click on, either you click on the link or you can do a QR code scan and you'll be able to register for this session. I encourage every parent, or if you know of any parent right now that is needing help and needing support, please do sign up and just join us and hear some stories and encouragement to help us with our journey right now. Some of these encouragement and stories are really going to help us enrich our life in this journey, right? Okay, next slide, please. Right, and if you really need help right now, guys, please hang on there, and those numbers and those contacts are available. I'm going to leave this here for the next 25 seconds. They're going to be there to support you. Please do not give up. There's always help. Just reach out to help someone. You know, one of my mentors or my coach tells me this: all of us have one superpower, and the greatest superpower we have is the ability to ask for help. So let us not be disabled, but enabled by reaching out to seek help in this season. So I really highly encourage everyone, if you really need help right now, help is always available. Reach out to someone or your friends, family, or even those call lines here. Before you make any decisions, reach out to someone so that you will receive some help. And maybe one conversation, one word, one sentence, one story could potentially pivot and change your life, right? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Right, so this is the series that we have gone through, and next week we are talking about on the 1st of September we have another session called Overcoming Anxiety and Depression, and on the 8th of September is Parenting in the Pandemic. So this is the series of the 8 series that we have by Eirini to support the community in this season of pandemic. Right? Okay, I think I'm done with the announcements now. Last thoughts for you, Jeff, and Jeff, if you have any last thoughts on any last word of encouragement to the audience here today, because your story today is really amazing. And what are your last advice, thoughts for our audience that's watching here tonight?
I guess to stay positive. Nothing is as bad as it looks in given time, you know. And when we look back many years from now, we will realize that it's an obstacle, it's a challenge to actually make us to have a better future, right? That's the end. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for taking time off your business and your family time to be with us. Thank you, JC, for supporting Jeffrey going through this journey. I think so much has been spoken about Jeff, but I want to thank you, JC, for really helping to support him as well and being a great example of how a couple can go through this journey together. So thank you so much, JC, for being here today with us as well. So grateful and so honored to be able to have this conversation with you guys. For the rest of you in this audience, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you next week. Thank you, Jeff and JC. See you guys. Have a good one. Take care.